Welcome to the Coaches on Caffeine podcast, where we help you to take absolute ownership and reach for excellence in your life.
One strength coach, one performance manager, sharing our experiences. Let's get it.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Coaches on Caffeine podcast. Today we're going to be discussing building resilience, and we've got a special guest on the show today. We've got the man himself, Ben Jack. He's one of the lead coaches at the for the under-20s Thunderbolts, so like one of the affiliates from the Melbourne Storm. And so they just kind of went through the I Don't Quit camp, or the resilience camp that they put together for the players to help build like really good culture and kind of mental toughness. So we're kind of thought we'd get Benny in to kind of dive into the details of that. So Tommy, did you want to talk a bit about what that was like? And
So it was unbelievable. It was 24 of the most powerful hours in my life, I keep saying, and that's why I wanted to get Benny on here today to have a chat about it. We just were speaking before, and definitely I feel I learned as much, if not more, than the players in that 24 hours. Wanted to get your feedback, Benny. What did you find?
Yeah, I think we sort of all came back on our review from last year, and how there were things that we're going through and what we needed to do better. And the previous two camps was essentially training twice, getting them up at 6 a.m. And doing like a PT session, and they thought that was hard, but it's sort of we didn't capture what we wanted out of that. We did our goals, and we sort of spoke a little bit about our lives and what we've been through, but we didn't get that little bit extra that we were searching for.
edge.
And when we spoke about it in the review, it was, I know you mentioned it and said, let's just flog them, and let's get them to the point where vulnerability comes out, emotion comes out, where you're broken, and sort of moulding it on that I Don't Quit camp that the Melbourne Storm do. So then as we kept going and you were compiling your ideas, I think we just started going, hang on, this is going to be really good. Like there was no footy. There was absolutely no footy at all.
Well, that was an instruction.
Yeah.
Not to touch a footy.
Yeah. And then even up till the night before, you were messaging me saying, how are we going? Oh, I'm nervous. Is this going to be all right? Are we going to get it?
It was nervous.
Are we going to be okay? Are we overstepping the mark? There's things like that.
We definitely towed the line there. I think that's one thing that's important to talk about today is like, I was messaging you, and I was talking to other people from the pathway from previous years, just saying, have we got welfare on board here? What's the go? And I'm keen to jump into that a bit later on, because I really think that we've done something really good. I think that I'm happy that we stuck to our guns and we did it. Because up until the 11th hour, I was ready to make a change. Like I was really
Get a message
nervous.
at 9 p.m. Starts at 7 a.m. the next
It was
morning.
fretting. He was genuinely fretting. But before we kind of dive into the super kind of in-depth details, I think it might be good to just provide some context, but also like find the why from you guys, like as the coaches facilitating that and kind of running that. Like, why was it important for you to put those players through all that stuff? And kind of, if you had to define resilience, what does resilience look like for you, and why is that something that you wanted to instill in the players?
I think, I remember learning resilience back at uni, and I still remember that definition I was told is that it's the capacity for someone to keep moving forward against adversity. And it's not the capacity of an overall, it's one's capacity. It's how far you can actually continue to push forward when things keep getting thrown at you. And we needed to throw things at them and continually throw things at them. I think why we did this is to build that resilience, because no matter how hard of a game of rugby league that they'll do all year, or a game they'll have, that will not compare to that camp at all. Like any game will will seem reasonably easier than that camp. Like you couldn't put any game of rugby league in comparison to that. So
well, then it just kind of like playing footy seems easy, doesn't it?
it does, and I think that comes from that Melbourne Storm philosophy of that you train harder than what the game's going to be. Training will be hard, the game will be easy.
Training love, yeah.
So, and that's what we needed to do. Is something that we didn't get to do a lot of because of obviously within the position we're in. Like most of us are all volunteers, or we're time poor. Players are time poor. Our players are work. Our players are stuck in traffic. We can't get that opportunity all the time.
Yeah.
This camp was you have 24 hours with us, and you've got our undivided attention. And we've got yours. This is our chance to see your levels of resilience and how far you're willing to go for the person next to you, and how far they're willing to go for you.
Definitely.
So I definitely think from like a culture standpoint, like, you know, the pain, the physical pain aside, like from a culture standpoint, that would just bring them, not only the players, but like the coaching staff all together and it just become this one solid unit. And I mean, because you guys are in pre-season now, hey?
Yeah, almost a competition phase.
Yeah, so kind of introducing that stimulus moving into the season, like because you'd go through all that adversity and hardship together at the start, like before the season even starts, you know what I mean? And then you kind of like carry that throughout. So I think, when Tom was first telling me about it, like I was scared for them, you know what I mean? I was like, I couldn't go through that, no way. So
when you asked about why, the why for me was a little bit personal. I know that like having the Storm logo on our shoulders is a big thing, and in previous years there's a bit of a, you know, like there's a bit of something there that we're just not providing. We're just not producing tough enough, rugby league players. And that's a generalisation, but like there was a need to really step it up to the Storm standards.
what was the thing that gave you that realisation? Like why were players just getting injured? Or like
we fell away a lot last year in games where, so to provide a bit of background, in 2018 we played in Queensland under-20s competition in which our players were either of that standard or way above that standard, in which to a comp that we played really well. At some point we dominated teams. So then in 2019 we were actually moved into the Jersey Fleet competition, the New South Wales equivalent, which is the best under-20s players in the world.
Yeah.
To provide a comparison is that in 2018 we had 2 players go on to play NRL from that. I think it's still only 2 players since that time. Where in 2019 we had 9 players go on to play NRL within that season. And I was saying to it, like we had nearly 20 players play in the recent Nines tournament that we played against. So the quality of competition was
significantly greater.
Huge. So we fell away in games when things were in the arm wrestle, and that at some point it was going to go one way or the other, and rarely did it go ours because we didn't think we were mentally tough enough to just keep chipping away, keep grinding, keep fighting, keep fighting every metre, every centimetre. We just fall away, and then all of a sudden we just get toppled. So we needed to test their mental capacity, and we knew that these players had been through tough times, but they just never related it back to rugby league. We knew that our players had handled adversity daily in their life, but we could never get so much out of them to be able to utilise that as a tool. We knew about our player, we knew some players had some issues, but we didn't know enough to know how much it affected them or how much we could use it as a tool to build them into a rugby league player through their own adversities. So it was a lot because of falling away in games. We just didn't have the mental capacity or the intestinal fortitude to just keep fighting back. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that what we've just achieved might do that. So.
Well, I remember, sorry Tom, I remember when, growing up, I've always been like a mad rugby union fan, watching the Wallabies play and, watching the Bledisloe Cup and they always take on the All Blacks, and the All Blacks were just that cut above, you know, and 80 minutes of footy is a long time to physically to go through that. But I think what made the All Blacks just that kind of next level was their ability to hold like intensity and kind of play passionate footy throughout the whole game, like right until the last second. And there was never a point where they gave up on each other, and there was never a point where they died off. So it would be interesting to see kind of, you know, what they do for their culture. But
that was big, that last part, in terms of doing it for themselves, like doing it for themselves versus doing it as a group. Like a big thing for me from the performance standpoint, when you're having to answer to the fitness of players, like when we're losing games, it's quick to go back to the fitness side of things, and I'm like, these guys aren't unfit. Like, yeah, we might be a bit smaller than the opponents, but I'm just like, they're not unfit. We've quantified that. We're just not mentally tough enough.
It's that mental edge, I think.
And not just that, but we're not mates. Like there just wasn't that vibe of mateship.
Yeah, there was
Real strong mateship.
when you asked players back then, you know, what did they want to achieve? Is they all said they want to make the next level. So it's very individualised, but you won't make the next level unless this person helps you and this person helps you.
That's right.
Exactly.
So when they say, "Well, we want to win games, we want to be seen through what we do as a team," then you know that's most important. It's funny you bring up the All Blacks. I know that the All Blacks have, you know, there's 10,080 minutes in a week, and they use all 10,000 of those minutes prior to the 80 minutes that they play to prepare for that 80 minutes. Whether it be based on what they eat, what they sleep, what they do, they train. So their focus is, if you get those 10,000 minutes right, those 80 minutes
is
sweet.
It's the icing on
You
the
know
cake.
dramas at all. So like that's huge. Is that and I love the All Blacks philosophy. I think you know that's why they're great, because they're mentally tougher than any team. They're the most successful team in sport.
Across all codes for the last 50 plus years.
Yeah, and that's because they're mentally tougher and they're willing to put in the work off the field and understand who they are as a person and a player, and who the person next to him is and the person next to him there is. They understand everything about each other.
There was definitely power in that. Like we said, vulnerability. The boys, all of us, staff included, put my hand up. It all got really vulnerable. Like after they were physically drained. They hadn't had a whole heap to eat. They hadn't had a whole heap of sleep. Very little sleep. And it all got very vulnerable. And that level of vulnerability, especially as blokes, like males don't do this stuff. And when they opened up like that, you know, talking about that stuff where somebody hasn't heard those stories before. Now I've heard your level of vulnerability. Holy shit, man! Like that's it. We're now brothers. Like I carry that with me as well, and that was huge. Relatively unintentional to the extent that we got to.
Yeah, it's sort of like, and it probably come from a pet hate. One of my bloody hates of a coach is before they go out in the field, they put their hands up in the air and they say brothers on 3, 1, 2, 3. But how well do you know that person to call them a brother?
Yeah.
And so we wanted to validate that term, that when you say brother, well, you know what? Yeah, you are my brother, because I know exactly what you've been through, how you've got here. I know exactly what you've been through. You can't call someone a brother or have that much power in a word if it doesn't mean anything. You might as well say 1, 2, 3 teammates, because that's all you are at that point. Yeah, colleagues.
Yeah, that's right.
Like,
2, 3 colleagues.
yeah, like that's as far as what it would be. So
That is so. Yeah, there's a lot of
in
truth
that circle, like I said to him, that we need to validate the word brother within this team. And it was actually, funnily enough, it was accidental. As you said, it was quite accidental. Is that the first session we wrote down a list of goals we wanted to achieve by the end of pre-season, and that was one of them. And I only went back and had a look at that on Tuesday, and that was the last tick.
Oh, really?
It was skill development, it was achieve a brotherhood, it was become fitter than you've ever been. All these things that we sort of tick, we're getting there. And then on Tuesday, I have a look at that list on a piece of butcher's paper, and it said, become a brotherhood. And that was the last one, and that was just, again, purely by accident that we attempted this camp. Unbelievable.
Mate, that the boys walking up the hill on the last morning with the photo that Lukey got on the hill. That's it for the year for me. Like, holy crap, that's brotherhood.
That's brothers in arms, isn't it?
Brothers
That's definitely.
So do you want to kind of, to provide context to our listeners, do you want to really dive into exactly what this camp was, when it happened, how long it went for, and run us through the itinerary? What did this camp look like?
Do we go through that?
Mate, you had the itinerary.
So
You planned it.
the boys had a requirement on the Saturday morning to be at Amy Park. The bus was to depart Amy Park at 7:30. They left there. They had their bag. They were given. They had to hand their phones in. That was a huge part. Again, that we didn't really like. Was just, I think, had more effect than what we planned. Their phones were handed in when they got a 10-minute warning.
Yeah.
They had to text their loved ones and whatever and get that done. And then
Why not come back?
yeah, nice knowing you, pretty much. They handed them in. They got on the bus. The bus drove out to where we were staying at Lake Dua or Lake Diva, however you pronounce it, out past Bacchus Marsh.
Awesome facilities.
Great facility. Should give a shout out to them.
100%.
That was brilliant. And they got about nearly 2 k's from the camp, and they were dropped off with their bags and said, "You've got 15 minutes to get there."
I sent the drone up in the air just to spy on them a bit to see if there was any walkers.
Make sure no one was walking.
I think there was a couple of pit stops, but no walkers. Like they were running. And I think that was that moment where they go, well, these guys are serious.
We're on here.
Because we sort of gave them little tips throughout the week that they were, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
This is different to the camp that we've done. And for someone, that was that moment where they got kicked off the bus and they got 2 k's to go. They're just going, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Dirt road.
Dirt road.
Yeah. Anyway, so they trotted along the dirt road and then they got ushered off to the side to pick up their stuff for the PT session that we had planned. So tractor tyres and tyres on ropes and
big concrete
blocks on ropes. They were hectic. What else? Sandbags. And as a group, then they had time. I think it was like 5 minutes to get to where they were supposed to be on a beach volleyball court, where the PT session was going to take place. They went down there. They were given time limits from the start, and we started from the start. And they thought it was on when they got running, but they were still a little bit relaxed in timings. It took 2 or 3 times to go.
To really make them hit that and be strict to that.
Like we said 3 minutes to this point, boys, and it's now 5 minutes. So let's go. Like pancakes in the sand, and yours when you let them check into their rooms, and then it was back out, and they were like, and they're just in that cruisy mode, which you get into.
Still as kids and still not realising the magnitude of it, and then a light bulb did go off at some stage.
It took, I think it was not long after that PT session. I think that PT. So then they went, Benny threw them in the water before they started their PT session, and then they went up to, wet, and they ran up to the beach volleyball court to do a PT session, which went for about 90 minutes to 2 hours, and it was just gruel, grit, just through the sand.
Getting work done.
Like the tyre squats with 3 of them, like it was. And then carrying a sandbag down to the other end and back. It was just intense, yeah. It was just.
We only had 1 spewer, but.
Yeah, no, that was the plan. We wanted 20 odd spewers, but we only got 1, so.
Shout out to Nick and Luke, actually.
Yeah, we probably should have worked them harder there, fellas. But no.
No, definitely.
That was really good.
There was more coming. So they started that, and that was like, I think then they knew it was on, because that was 2 hours of just tough.
So you think that was probably the clicking point from them coming into like, oh yeah, cool, camp with the boys, to like, oh shit, this is actually, like, they weren't kidding now.
Well, last camp we had a lot of breaks, and they were giving out haircuts. Like I think they thought this was going to be that same thing, but some people didn't even see their room for nearly 18 hours. Like it was just that intense, full on.
Just one thing after.
Yeah.
We went from the PT session into like 2 leadership drills, so we knew that for 24 hours we couldn't literally smash them the whole time because they would have broken. So they then broke off into some like less physical, more cognitive stuff in like they've got a tunnelling system out there, which was really cool. They've got like a low ropes course. Actually on the tunnelling system was one of the first like not planned lessons for me. Like, were you there when the boys they're still really excited, even though they've just been smashed in the PT session, because they thought like it was getting to the fun stuff now. They put their helmets on ready for the tunnelling.
Yeah.
And one guy gets the instructions and he's reading through the instructions and they're all talking over the top of each other and yelling and laughing, and I ripped the instructions off them and I was like, right, go. And they're like, wait up, what did we have to do? And I was like, no, this is what happens. Like if in rugby league, the blue shirt goes out to run a message to them.
Yeah.
And we've had staff in the last couple of years that have come out.
I couldn't get a word in.
Couldn't get a word in because they're all talking. No one's given any action or actually actively listening to the instructions.
Yeah.
So I ripped it off them and I said,
Work it out.
Work it out. And they're like, oh.
Yeah.
And that clicked.
It took them 55 minutes to work it out, but they got there.
First group were terrible.
They were shocking.
They were terrible.
But I think that, like, from that is the peak, because I was over at the low ropes at that time, and the people doing the low ropes, they were sort of struggling with too many chiefs and just too many talkers. And then you do the swap over, the guys in the low ropes came into the tunneling, and they finished in 23 minutes.
They like halved the time of the first group.
Their comms were just on, and they had people just leading the charge and say, right, I'm going, follow me, I'll tell you what we need to do next. Because they were just like a lot more, and you could hear them in the tunnel thing. Like,
Well, it would have made the leaders of the group kind of take a step up and stand out a little bit more.
and we saw people that we didn't think were leaders show leadership qualities.
Yeah.
Players that we just thought, oh, they just coast along, to they just thrived in that environment. And I think that was one of the many things that we did as a focus under fatigue method, because obviously when you're defending in rugby league, or where you're at the hardest part in any sport, your focus under fatigue is crucial. Yeah. So they've just done a PT session, and then now they have to focus on getting out of this tunnel or getting at these low ropes. We did really well of just going like smash, focus, and it was just that continuous.
We alternated.
Yeah, like it was really good that they could do that.
Even if a little bit not planned that it worked out that way, but it worked really well. So they did those two, and then we gave them a break for lunch after that.
Yeah, part of their rations. And I like that.
What were the rations?
They got 2 bread rolls,
2 good rolls,
2 muesli bars, banana, apple,
tin
tuna.
For 24 hours.
Yeah.
And if they had it all,
Too bad, too sad.
done.
that's it.
No dinner.
Yeah.
Oh, to be fair, we had some protein there in
Yeah, so they did get dinner, but we forgot to give it to them at lunch.
at lunch. Yeah.
So,
Forgot to get it. Yeah, right.
We'll,
That was
we'll make sure we give them some protein at lunch, and then lunch went by and I was like, oh, I've got the protein. So,
To be fair, like we were hectic the
Yeah,
whole
we
time. We were literally like, what's next? Like
Where
as staff. Yeah, because it was like, it was. I don't think the athletes really. I mean, they were getting hammered, so they weren't thinking about what we were doing. But it was.
some of them did some good job. Like some of them were trading. Like one of them was like, you know what?
That's right.
Bread's not going to help me, so I'll trade my bread for tuna.
Oh, that's awesome.
So someone had, one of the players had tuna for lunch and tuna for dinner.
Yeah.
So you're getting these nice little protein.
Hey,
Protein.
whatever works.
Where one player had about 4 bread rolls.
So it was heavy.
he was struggling. So they were doing this like real amazing sort of trade work, and some were eating half of their tuna, and then like they'd leave it outside, and then there'd be like ants and flies, and they're coming, oh no, and they're digging them out, and then they're hiding their tuna in their bedroom. So that it was just a mess, but that was so good seeing them work out like, what am I going to do that's going to like satisfy me and provide me enough energy until we eat the next morning.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That was hectic. So that was this is all up until lunch.
Yeah.
So this is just the first
this is
half of the day.
Yeah.
12 p.m. on day one. And after that we went into, did we do some mind games after
Yeah, we did
that?
some mind games. So we
To let the food go down.
yeah, let the food go down.
Smart.
Yeah, we just did some things in where, just team building stuff. So that obviously one exercise would be, I give Frosty something. It might be a cat, and then he has to draw the cat on your back, and then you have to transfer that to the paper. So it might be a house or a castle or a tree or things like that, where you're working together. They can't say anything, but have to sort of, again, focus. Okay, what's he drawing on my back? Okay, and then we'd ask him. Some people nailed it, some people failed it. Like then drawing, like I hope rugby league works out for some because drawing won't. But yeah, that was
What was the idea behind doing that?
It was just all working together and using non-verbal communication. Like we have to use non-verbal communication in the game as much as we use verbal comms.
Well, I mean, when you're gassed and there's 10 minutes
You gotta find
to play
ways.
and you're tired and all the reserves are on and
Yeah.
you know there's no one else to rely on. Like it's you're in the trenches.
And then we did just a task where we list certain things. If you're trapped on a deserted island, what you rate them. And we went by the Marines actually set a list of what's most important to them. Then we gave a reward to the team who got the most right, and they were going to use that later in the night for a pretty intense sort of situation, and we'll probably bring that up later, but we gave them that reward. So they were really into it, going, okay, what do we need? You know, some of the things were like a shaving mirror, a petrol water can, and then some of them were thinking abstract. Some were just going, that's definitely it. And we're just like, think about the why. And then the shaving mirror was the most important because the ability to reflect light.
I was surprised by what
Yeah,
the
like,
results were. Actually.
yeah, like you could reflect light, you could create fire, you could break it, and it's a knife essentially. So some of the boys actually thought about that. So trying to think outside the box was really good. So yeah, one team won it, and we said, "Oh, we'll reveal what you're going to do a bit later," and they're sort of freaking out. And then then we had a 10k run, which was
So we went into a 10k run after that.
After lunch.
Yeah. So the main idea was to let them have some downtime without letting their brain rest, because we just wanted pure fatigue. And then I went into the 10k run. There was a track there at the course at the place we were staying. They went on the 10k, they went around, and then they went back halfway around, and I met them halfway around where I'd been watering our barbed wire course for the last 40 minutes. And they went into like a barbed wire session where they just had to go like in the mud pits, like in the army, and just in the mud pits under the barbed wire, and they're fatigued and sore.
I think
and
I enjoyed
heavy
that too
and-
much.
Yeah, Benny was a bit sadistic with the hose. Got some good
Yeah,
footage
I
of
was
that.
just like sort of aiming the hose pre-water, start splashing up, they get mud in their face. And I really enjoyed that. It was kind of,
It's a bit-
I might speak to something about that.
Speaking about welfare.
Yeah.
So they went, they did that, and that was just about continuation. Like, just keep going, boys. You've just finished your 10k run, and it was by this stage of the day where, like, instructions were given before the 10k run. Do what you need to do. Keep falling onto your front foot, essentially, but don't walk. And we had a few walkers. And people put their hand up and were like, "Well, you didn't follow instructions."
What happened to the walkers?
Well, we made them sit out because they did quit, really. Like, they quit on what the task was. And we were really big on that at that stage. It's like, that's where it clicked for me. It's like, we've got standards, we've set standards, and they were clear to you from the start. And we don't accept 1% less, because then we accept 1% less and 1% less
Yeah,
until
it's a
you
gradual effect.
get to a point where it's like, we're here instead of where we should have been.
Yeah.
And that's what
You mean if you let things kind of slide early on, then it like ruins the quality. And what was the kind of ramifications of people sitting out? Like
They
what
hated it.
happened because of that?
Well, they're, like, it was a big thing about the
And
the
how
rules
many-
you're there with your teammates.
How many boys were there?
21?
Yeah, 21, yeah. We had 2 guys away playing first grade, and we didn't sort of take our injured guys because obviously they wouldn't have been the ones being able to do it. So they're 21 with us, and
So if there was like 2 or 3 sitting out and missing out
And they're just
on the
watching.
action, that'd be
it's not a nice feeling.
that'd be tough. Yeah.
Well, they had to sit like within range so that they were watching what their teammates were doing, because let's face it, that's what happens on the field. When you're going to take a shortcut on the field, then you're dogging your mates, really, like, and you're just watching what they're doing. I put my hand up for that back when I used to play football. I had a bit of that
It
in
was
me.
special for it.
For sure. So they finished the barbed wire, and then we haven't even mentioned that we had the team song, and that was probably one of the main parts of the whole weekend. That whenever they heard the song, wherever they were, they had 5 minutes total to get back to the muster area at the front of camp, which was a perfect little spot.
Yeah, and stand to attention.
Stand to attention. They'd already been ordered at the start of the session, so they had to stand there, and we'd count them off: 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s. And to be fair, they didn't.
At the start, they were sort of it, and then they realised the importance of it.
Yeah.
So after that barbed wire, I had my car there, blast it. There's people in the barbed wire.
In the
just
barbed
go,
wire.
they're trying to get out as quick as they can, and they've run and they go straight
And it
back
was
there.
probably like a K or so back, like over the bridge and stuff to get back to from the boat.
That was actually a really, like you mentioned it, saying let's do something like that. I was like, there's a song that I like that'd be good for us to run out to and just trigger. But that was one of those things I don't think we realised the impact of that until after.
I was really keen on that, to have like the Pavlov's response to just like what happens.
Stop
when
what
game-
you're doing, drop everything.
Yeah.
This is the most important thing. Everyone rally together. Let's go.
And that's our game day song.
Yeah.
So we're really hoping that boys don't run with their tails between their legs the other way when it comes on. We've got boys running out there,
Start freaking
turning
out.
around and running back.
Would not be surprised.
Yeah, there's a cut. We actually tried it at the gym, our first
Wednesday.
session back, and
Yeah.
boys actually put their hands between their heads, and
Yeah.
I think it's a bit soon at the moment.
Yeah.
Hopefully we
Too
get
soon.
a better response when season kicks in. So barbed wire into, we went back. Oh, this is where we had a bit of spare time
So
in
we
our
felt
plan.
yeah, because we planned for longer for the barbed wire, and then you saw the kayaks and
So we ran a canoeing session on the
former
water.
canoe instructor here
Yeah, pulled out a bit of the past canoeing instructor in me.
nailed it.
Threw a little, we just did a little
plug.
Geez, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Thank God they're decent footy players. Some of the
And
boys.
thank goodness it wasn't too deep water. Like
And they had good
there
life
was a
jackets.
lot of capsizing.
Some of those big boys.
Oh yeah, those big front rowers.
Didn't matter how
100
big.
plus kegs.
Didn't matter how big the poor Canadian canoe was.
But that was good because it was an exertion exercise plus teamwork plus a bit of fun. Like the one of the best parts of that was when, and it's probably not the best mindset to have, but one of the teams went around the buoy and started coming back. Well, then one team sort of said, "We're not making that. Let's get them." So they've turned their canoe around and started gunning it for the team that was coming first to try and capsize them. But that everyone sort of stopped and watched that and how funny that
And we're
was.
cheering them on.
Yeah,
too.
like let's get them, and they just missed. Then they crashed into the shore and they capsized. So it was like the consequence of your actions. I was like, we took a risk. It didn't pay off, and they ended up capsizing. But then I thought that like, we played the song while they were kayaking.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that was happening, and I was out in the middle of the water on mine.
So we had blokes diving out of their canoes.
Leaving their canoes in the middle of the
Where
lake.
the canoe starts sinking and we're going, you canoe, and so they're swimming back trying to get the canoe back onto shore, and then they got to get back because they know it's 5 minutes. Like they were flying in the water.
Unbelievable.
Was
That
cool.
was actually really
Yes.
cool just off the bat, and we
Yeah.
hadn't really been planned. The winning team was counting out. They got to sit out of the pancakes. So losers, whoever came second, third, fourth, fifth, had to.
What's a pancake?
Pancakes are burpee where you go belly back, belly, and jump up.
Oh right.
So they were pancaking. in the
Oh,
sand.
it's sort of
Yeah, it makes sense. The old flip.
yeah.
Flip the pancake.
So this is really cool because, like, you know,
We're only at 3 p.m.
Exactly right.
we're only at 3 p.m.
It hasn't even started yet. Like that's
As I'm kind of listening to the two of you just explain what's happening, like this is cool because we've started with, they're kind of just getting used to it, what the instructions are, what they have to do, what they can't do, what the rules are. And now, they hear the team song and they're bloody leaving their canoe and they're diving everywhere and they're making that priority. So it seems like, as the day progressed, that shift and that click and that transition point really happened, and that I
it's
think
almost
like
military sort of when they just okay, we're on, and people started holding people accountable. Like
they're
saying-
going to get so much that having that buy-in, not only to the coaching staff, but like to each other, and knowing that they're in this together. Come on, mate, let's go, let's get it done. That would have been a really cool transition to kind of witness, I reckon.
That was one thing in all of our reviews, and even into the start of this year, which was like, we need to internalise their accountability, because we don't need to be the ones driving that message all the time. It just doesn't work. We're not going to be on the field with
We
it.
should be that last stage of accountability. Whereas if all else fails, that's when we step in. That self accountability followed by that shared accountability. And if it fails around there, where they're not owning up and people aren't holding themselves to account, then that's where we've got to step in.
Oh yeah, like it's like the.
But it ended up being us having to step in because no one was holding themselves accountable.
Prior to this,
yes,
I think that,
and I think that sort of helped a lot because people were, pointing people out and saying you got to pick it up. Like the song's on, and let's get back. We got 5 minutes. So things like that were really positive.
Well, I was just gonna say, like it's kind of similar to you can take the horse to the water, but you can't make it drink, right? Like you can have so many people giving you instructions and telling you to do this and that, but like if you're not intrinsically motivated to do it yourself and the reasons why you're gonna do that, like forget about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's cool that they kind of got to that stage organically and it wasn't like you kind of being the drill sergeants that made it happen. Like,
we were being the drill sergeants, like external to that. But we were sort of, I don't know, we had to remove ourselves from what our roles were to be that person on the day because, and this is where the Storm actually externalise it. Like they bring in the actual commandos to do it, and you can see the value in that because. I hope the boys don't know where I live because
I live far enough away that
you're pretty safe. But I mean, I think by the end of it, they realised that it was, we were doing it for the love of them, really.
I think they sort of asked as well. Like we were up all day too, and we had to experience it. Not the physicality, but we were tired. We were getting very tired. I think that probably one of, if not the best part of the camp, came straight after the canoeing. Is when you said, well, we got about half an hour, 40 minutes till dinner. Why don't we just get them to talk to a tree? And they were just like, we'd heard about that previously.
Did I tell you about this yet?
No. This, like, I've seen it happen before. I've done it before, but it's been so long that, and I know the power that happens behind it. So like we initially said you got half an hour to have a conversation with a tree, and then a couple of them laughed. So I said, all right, sweet, 40 minutes. So then that first 5-10 minutes while they're talking to the tree is just general chit chat.
And still joking, like they're still
they don't understand. But then there's this moment while you're talking to the tree where you have this, and you have to be physically exerted to be able to make this work, but where it becomes almost like an out-of-body experience because you're actually, I think 90% of them ended up having a conversation with someone. And
someone in their life.
It became extremely spiritual to the point where we had players talking to deceased parents, grandparents, siblings, cousins. We've got a lot of interstate players, international players where they got family back home that they don't get to see. They were talking to them and it became so emotional.
Oh yeah, I bet.
And I think when we started seeing that emotion as a group of coaches, we got together and said, let's use this, ask questions. And for me, like I had one player that I knew a little bit about his story, but because of the bravado and macho on football sort of thing, you don't get it out of them when you ask those questions. I spent 15 minutes talking to him about his entire life story. And I know that player probably better than anyone now. Because of that, talking to a tree and just having that conversation, we had about a dozen players in tears to the tree. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
it was crazy and unintentional to the extent that it ended up being that way. Like for me, again, it was about messing with their mindset. Like, why the hell are you making me do this? Well, because I said, like, don't talk to your teammate, don't talk to anyone else, don't even look at your teammate. And we found blokes, that were taking the piss in the first 5 minutes. Like, all right, we're doing something physical again. And then those blokes went back to talking to the tree, and holy crap! Like I remember, because I hadn't done it before, so I was just sort of walking around, just being a bit of a jerk, really, like who you're talking to. And then players just started to well up, and I was like, wow. Who are you talking to, bro? Like, what's going on here? What makes you think about that? And holy crap, it was powerful.
Yeah.
And just one after the other. Like, we had all staff were just out, just talking to the athletes, just individually in a one. I think there's power in that too. It was a one-on-one setting, which you don't really get a whole heap of.
And like even just when they were saying, like if you're the tree and you're the coach, like still having that
Still
conversation
talking
with
to
that
the
tree
tree.
while explaining, like I've said to the tree about this, and then like just going back
Like
and
the tree
forth,
was
like
a person.
yeah, it was unbelievable experience. It was.
Well, I mean, if that's not vulnerability, I don't
That
know
was
what is.
absolutely vulnerable.
It was intense, and then when we brought him in all after, so who just had an experience there with the tree, and everyone's hands went up, and there's still players sitting there in just tears, tears running down their face, and we're just like, that could not have gotten any better. So then we challenged him again, and we sort of thought, let's see how their focus goes after that. So we had a kilo of white rice and a kilo of brown rice. And we mixed it together on the carpet,
Tell me about it.
and we just spread it around and said, fellas, you got an hour, you got to separate the brown and white rice. And that is one of the most tedious things you could ever do. And I've done it before, and it's painful. And then at the half an hour mark, we got them to put their hand in water. So any rice they touched was just sticking to their hand. So they'd be like, it was, I don't know. It was, which was so good though as well, because what we learned is we had players basically laying on each other, or we had players, but we had a massive, diverse team. They were just singing.
Oh, wasn't that
It
powerful?
was like a choir.
Like those island boys when they sing and they just, because that's where they go to their happy place.
Yeah.
I walked in because I'd gone for a bit of a break at that stage.
Yeah.
I walked in and I was like, holy crap, my hair started to stand
They
on
were
end.
singing, and it was beautiful. Like I filmed some of it where you could just, their voices in unison was just like, it was unbelievable. And it was just, and they were just doing their thing. They just, someone didn't think they'd go to the bathroom. So like they're busting to go to the bathroom, and then someone said, like, can I go to the bathroom? Like, I'm absolutely I'm gonna wet myself here. So, oh yeah, fellas, you can go to the bathroom. 8 of them just stood up and, oh, we didn't know. So they're at that point where we're not doing something unless we're told we can.
Yeah.
So even just going to the bathroom, they sort of just, we can't go to the bathroom.
That's
So it's like, yeah, fellas, and you can go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
You spent 40 minutes talking to a tree.
We forgot that in the 10k run.
Yes. Yes.
One of our athletes in the 10k run, and he got recognition for this at the end. It's again a little bit weird, but he on the 10k run said, I didn't want to stop to piss. I pissed myself. Can I hose myself off?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I was like, that is someone
Credit
who's
to
there for the team.
We won't name him because, but he knows who he is, and the team know who he is, and yeah, just things like that. Just saying, well, I'm not
No
gonna.
shortcuts.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go.
Yeah, I mean, that's
But he's the
everything.
player who only
That's
brought
what
one
you
set of
want.
clothes too, because being army style, he thought, well, okay, well, I'm only taking one set of clothes. So.
Did he really?
Yes.
See, I didn't even know that. Lucky we had the hose out for it to hose
Exactly
off.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Gee whiz. So when did we get to the brown and white
So
rice?
brown and white
again,
rice,
though?
they didn't finish it, which was never going to happen, but they did
Amazing.
quite a good job at it. And then when they stood up the end and gone, geez, we've actually given that a fair nudge. And they stayed focused for an hour.
After all they've been through already, physically, mentally,
45 minutes of
emotionally.
tree before that. Like it was just, and then we relate it back to a game where if you have to defend on your own goal line, how long is your focus required for? Minute, maybe 2. So if you can focus your energy on something so small for an hour, or for 45 minutes at a tree, or for, some of the other things that we did that we individualized, it makes it look easy. It makes it that focus, that transition of focus, and that focus under fatigue is like, well, it's only a minute. We sat there with rice for an hour.
Yeah, but it definitely puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I mean, I love how every element of this camp is all about the transfer to footy and
Well, to life, I think.
to life as
yeah.
well, yeah. But like when you compare it to footy, it's like, God, this is footy. The game's easy compared to all that stuff we have to go through.
For sure. So we were at about what time? About 6 or 7?
About 6.
At dinner.
Had some dinner. They were eating their rations, and a lot of them ran out of their rations. And
They got some protein.
As
yeah.
expected.
yeah. But we made them clean up, and I had 1 tin of chicken, like canned chicken. I don't know how canned chicken tastes, but I don't know if it would taste too good. It was in spring water and salt, so I don't know how. That sounds like tuna. Like it doesn't sound nice. So one of the players would just vacuum. We gave him 5 minutes to clean up, and he was just vacuuming and going as fast as he could, knowing that 5 minutes. So it was like, there was no chance he was going to pick up all the rice in that time. So we gave him a tin of chicken, and he looked at it like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, this is a part of my ration now. Am I going to eat this and everyone hate me?
Oh, interesting.
I didn't think he ate it till later. He didn't eat it in front of anyone.
No.
Yeah.
Man, all of these things that came out of it that were just unintentional, like the gratitude in that as well. Like, for me, that was huge, because like the gratitude around what you've got now, like the next day we fed him, and we'll get to that, we did put a big barbecue on, but you just, especially at that age, you probably get caught in your bubble. Like I know I do, and the gratitude that they had for little things like a tin of bloody tin chicken was another just unintentional lesson from the whole weekend, I think, that was hugely beneficial.
And then I was a terrible coach and went and got KFC, but then we came back. It was the closest thing.
It was not. It was not.
Well, they took my car to go have a real dinner, and then I still had my car keys, and they couldn't get out of the car because they wouldn't be able to come back. So that was a little nightmare from the coach's perspective. So I had to get KFC. So let's move on, and then we won't no close on this.
We'll edit that part out.
Yeah, then.
On that note, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. Tune in for the next episode to hear part 2 of our conversation with Ben Jack.